Salam and welcome to another session of Spiritual Saturdays. Let's see, what do we have here? Tips on how to attain Khushu in Salah. I try best to stay focused, but my mind sometimes wanders on worldly matters. The tip to attain Khushu in Salah is the same tip to attain Khushu in all of our life, right? Salah is not, does not require specific training, you know. Masalan, how can I attain khushu in salah? How can I concentrate in salah? How can I have presence of heart in salah? These are all things we should have in all of our life. So the question is, how can I have khushu in life, right? And I know maybe, and it's a very good question, because the Quran says قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. God says mu'minun, who will be the believers, the people who have faith, who will have a very lovely, amazing journey and salvation, are the ones who in their prayer they have khushu, right? So I'm not undermining the question, that's a Quranic verse, but in order to have khushu in salat, we need to have khushu in all of our life. We need to generally have khushu. And khushu is one of those qualities that comes as a result of a certain way of understanding and experiencing the world, right? Please pay attention, this is a very important point. Khushu is the fruit of a tree, right? In order to have, for example, an apple, you need to plant the seed, water it, slowly it will grow, it will become a tree, and a fruit of that tree would be an apple, right? So it's not like I can just take an apple and glue it to a tree. It wouldn't be real. A lot of the things in Islam are like that. Masalan, shukr, ikhlas, these are, or khushu itself, these are the trees of apples of a tree. We have to see, what should I plant in order to get this fruit? Okay, does that make sense? If I want to, for example, have ikhlas, which is sincerity, can I now force myself to be sincere? Quran says no. There is something that you need to cultivate. Once that grows, ikhlas will naturally come out of you. The same is with khushu. What is this thing that we need to work on in order to have khushu? That is to understand who we are and what is our relationship with God, okay? Because khushu is not something that we have on our own. Khushu is an attitude we have towards God, right? Khushu is how we feel towards God. Is that humbleness that we have towards God. So it happens in a relationship, okay? So khushu happens in a relationship, and for that to be natural and not forced, we need to know who God is. We need to know who we are. Once you know that, automatically you will have khushu. Very automatically. Right? So, so I would say start learning about who is God, who am I? Keep asking that question. The more you open this up, the more khushu will grow in your heart. But because I don't want to keep you searching more, let's talk about this a little bit. Maybe this is what we should talk about today. I had another thing in mind to talk about, hellfire, etc., but this is maybe what we're meant to talk today. We'll talk about hellfire another day. See, let's open this up. What is khushu? How can we have khushu? Let's start unpacking this. And also, I want you to monitor now and by the end of the discussion how your heart is feeling. Let's have a khushu meter right now. Check our heart as we go on, and let's see if the khushu meter is showing that our khushu is going up, even if it's a little bit. Let's unpack this. Who are we? Who is God? A very interesting thing in this world is that there are two things that God is showing us in this world. Pay attention to this. This is a very beautiful point that a very lovely soul taught me once. There are two main things in this life that God is showing us. We can almost say that everything in life falls under one of these two categories. One of them is, what is life like with God? The other one is, what is life without God? Okay? So, in all of your life, whatever happens, you are experiencing one of these two. You are either experiencing what is life like without God in this situation, or what is life like with God. What am I talking about? Let's go through some examples so this becomes a little bit more clear and we can find it in our own life. Let's say I'm having a very good day. I'm being very loving that day. I'm being very kind. And for example, a friend of mine is going through a difficulty. I'm able to go there, be with them. And a lot of times when we go to our friends, we want to have fun, they want to talk, we want to talk about our day. But sometimes we see our friend is having a difficult day, we become so selfless. We're there, we keep listening to them, we even forget that what we came to discuss, it's fully to make this person feel better. We show them love, we allow them to cry, we allow them to, pull their heart out. When we do all of that, and it really helps our friend, by the end of it, masalan, maybe our friend's like, you know what, dude, thank you so much. I really needed to get that out of my chest. Bless you, I feel so much good. And they really express their gratitude. What if they're like some of my friends who they'll be like, thank you, mate. They're not used to expressing emotion. They feel so much better, but like, thank you, mate, that was all right. So, but either way, there are some days where you go there, help someone, they feel so much better. Initially, you may think that I did it, right? And it's natural because it looks like you did it. It looks like I did it. So initially in life, we don't know what's happening. We're like, oh, it seems like I'm a very kind and loving person. But life goes on. Another day, you realize you're a little bit edgy. Masalan, someone you love, let's say your mom, she wants you to do something. Can you help me with this? I'm trying to, for example, do something. No, mom, I'm busy. I have homeworks, or I'm working on an essay, or maybe you have a simple argument with your partner and you get mad at them and you shout at them. Or sometimes even with our children, right? Our child wants something and we're a little bit tired. We're like, hey, not now. What happened? You were a beautiful soul kid. So why are you losing your temper so easily? Why are you shouting at your mom or your partner or your child? You know how many times we break the hearts of our children? Once you go through a few of these, some days in which you're so beautiful, you go out of your way and you're being the most patient, kind person in the world. And some days in which, you break hearts, you even break the heart of your child or your partner or your dad. You go through these two different versions. This is with love. Let's talk about another quality, courage. Some days you're so strong. Even the biggest challenge in front of you, like, no, I'm going to take it. I'm not scared. I'm going to face it. But sometimes the smallest challenge in front of you, you're so scared at night, you keep thinking about it. What if they say that? What if I fail? What if I embarrass myself? What if that happens? What if this person says that? So a small event in front of you becomes so huge and you feel like it's overcoming you at night. You can't sleep. Whereas before you had even managed to handle something way bigger. So with love, sometimes you're so loving, sometimes you even break the heart of your child. With courage, sometimes you handle the most difficult thing in the world. Sometimes a small event brings you down. Initially, for many people, they just go through these events not reflecting on what is it trying to tell them. But a believer will start, not even a believer, a curious person, will start looking at this, be like, why is this happening? How come sometimes I'm the most loving person, sometimes I break hearts? How come sometimes I speak so well thought and like it's so articulated. Sometimes I even struggle to say the most simple things. How come sometimes I'm so happy and strong, and sometimes the smallest thing brings me down? Slowly, when you pay attention to this, you realize, oh my God, in all of this, God was showing me that, Javad, this is you when you're with me. This is you if you don't come to me and get help. When you come towards me, you'll be so loving, you'll get so much energy, but on your own, your resources run out. You know, your resources run out, you become angry, you lose your temper, you get scared, you get anxious, right? And I'm not trying to force this on you. You have to see this in your own life. You have to find this in your own life, right? This is the journey of your life. And it may take someone 30 years, 40 years to finally find this in their life. But every person has to get to this stage in their life where they realize, oh my God, the days I was so kind was the days in which God was helping me, because sometimes I've seen it. When that support or help is not there, I've made mistakes I could not have even imagined, right? We all have made mistakes. If we look back, we just can't believe it. Did I do that? Wow. Oh, a lot of people, when they face these type of mistakes in themselves, they start feeling ashamed. Oh, I'm disgusted with myself, etc., etc. God says, no, it's natural. If you don't come to me, if you don't come to get love, if you don't come to get energy, resources from me, you would have to rely on your own resources, and your resources are limited. They're actually non-existent. Let's say limited. And you run out of resources, you quickly get anxious, you quickly get scared, right? So in all of our life, it's one of these two experiences. Either what is life like with God, what is life like without relying on God's resources. Please pay attention to this in your own life. You have to find it. For many people, masalan, going to the airport, traveling shows them, masalan, a lot of people before a travel, they're nervous. Do I have all the documents? Do I have to be on time? Do I have to go through the security? They slowly, because the stress of the event goes up, you see that, they'll start to become a little bit on the edge, a little bit anxious. But many people, when they're traveling, if you look at the way they're talking to each other, is so different to the way they were talking to each other 3 days ago. Masalan, partners 3 days ago, like, how are you? I'm okay, yes. Oh, you forgot to take that. But a few hours before traveling, like, I told you bring the passport. Oh my God, I can't trust you. I can't rely on you. Where's the key? You brought the key. Are the children ready? Let's do this. Come on. What's happening? There's a challenge in front of us. We're relying on our resources, and our resources are not enough to help us go through that challenge gracefully and beautifully. There's nothing to judge us, by the way, y'all. This is what we're all like. There are so many examples if you look in your own life. Driving, when you're late for work, when there's, God says, baby, in all of these situations, I was showing that what happens when you don't get love. Right? Many of us, masalan, if they ask us, will you ever, masalan, shout at your 3-year-old child? We say, no, I would never do that. Oh yes. Life shows you so many events in which you would actually end up doing that. The sooner you admit this, the sooner you admit, the easier life will be. Okay? So, like, no, actually, it seems like if I don't get my energy, if I'm in a difficult situation, I may even shout at people I love. As soon as you admit that, you realize, it seems like all the times in which I am being good, it's because I have the resources. This is a very important point. A lot of the times we think I am calm, I am nice, I am loving because that's who I am. But we just discussed, there are so many occasions in which life shows us, if you are loving, then why do you stop loving before the airport? If you're a calm person, how come you start shouting? So what do we realize at this point? I'm an insan. If I get energy and love, I will be calm and beautiful. If I don't get resources, if I don't get that connection from God, I'll end up making all sorts of mistakes. This is what insan is. With resources, you're the most beautiful thing in the world. Without God's resources and without God's love, we can end up making all sorts of mistakes. Any mistake will make it, right? any mistake any human being has ever made, we all have the potential to make it. The reason we're not making certain mistakes, the reason there are certain mistakes in the world we look at and we're like, I would never do that. It's not because we're not capable. It's because we have received so much support and love from God. So much love and work has gone through us to not do certain mistakes. If these were not there, we would end up any mistake any insan has made, we have the ability to make it as well. The reason they make it and we don't is that we are getting some form of love and connection to God that is stopping us from doing that. And when we need to keep praying for that love and support not to go away. And we have hadiths, if you judge someone, there's a beautiful hadith by Imam Sadiq, it says, Man ayyara bi shay'in buliya bih. If you look at someone and look down at them, ooh, they're making that mistake, what a terrible person. Or if you don't have compassion in the way you look at others, what happens that in order to know yourself, sometimes the resources you have inside from God, etc., may be taken away for a few seconds, so you would do the same thing. So Imam says, whenever you judge someone, chances are you'll end up committing the same mistake. Not out of punishment, so you learn a lesson, so you get to know yourself more. And that knowledge of the self is so precious. Oh? And it's very interesting. Masalan, we have once a person realizes this, that literally for every nice thing I'm doing, I'm relying on God's love, on God's support, on God's energy. In literally every good thing we do. Oh? Then something happens inside them. Then they reach this prayer of the Prophet. He used to tell God, La takilni ila nafsi tarfata aynin abada. Do not leave me on my own without your help and resources even for 1 second. Because we have seen so many times in our life, if for 1 second God resources go, we do anything. We shout, we become anxious, we get scared, we fight for no reason. Honestly, we're so adorable human beings. We're so adorable. Have you ever been I want to say something that will make life difficult for you, but in a very good way. It would be so much harder after what I say to have fights. Because I'm going to tell you something that you will remember next time you're fighting. It's hilarious how adorable we are. Sometimes we're fighting over something and halfway through it, like, this is so silly, you know? Masalan, did you put my laptop there? I told you not to put my laptop there. And then the person says, no, I didn't put your laptop there. Or masalan, why did I know? I forgot Allah, I put it there. No, this is not your first time. 2 weeks ago, I put my laptop there. And then another time you put my phone there. Why do you keep moving my stuff? And then halfway through, like, are we really fighting over where the laptop is? You know, believe me, people get divorced over these things. Masalan, that day, your mom came to our house and said that, and then they start talking about all of these things. But sometimes we really catch ourselves in the middle of a fight, be like, is this really worth it? But it's so difficult. It's so difficult to let go because we're riding that wave of passion and anger that we keep going. God says, this is what happens to you when you don't come to me to get love. You start fighting over the silliest things. Or sometimes it's even funny, I think we've spoken about this before. In the middle of an argument, you realize the other person is right. But you want to prove them wrong. And sometimes you want to prove something which it's not even a good thing. Masalan, the person says, honestly, I didn't say anything behind your back. I love you. Why would I want to hurt you, right? So they're trying to defend themselves that they love you. But for some reason, sometimes because we've already started the fight, we're like, no, I have to prove it that you don't love me. Oh, mate, if you prove that, you have one less friend. But we've already started this fight. And now we're even convinced maybe they love us. But we're like, no, I have to win this fight. I have to win this argument. And I have to prove this person in front of me hates me. Why? Why do we do that? And but we're like that. Sometimes we do these things. And to be honest with you, these are good experiences, right? These are very good experiences. Why? so that we realize oh, why are you relying on yourself? On our own, we become like this. On our own, without love, without God's energy, we slowly become weak and vulnerable and insecure. You know? So in all of these, we're learning that baby insan, you're like a flower. In the same way that a flower needs water, needs sun's light, you need God's love. Right? If a flower doesn't get water and light, slowly will become weaker and vulnerable. You're like that too. If you don't get love from God, you become vulnerable. You become insecure. And the more that happens, the more you start fighting with others. Go towards God, get that energy, get that love. You become so beautiful. So you see that, masalan, there are some prophets in the Quran that someone asks them, will you be patient in the future about that thing? And then the Prophet says, it doesn't say, I will be patient. The Prophet says, Satajiduni, not our Prophet, I think it's another. Satajiduni insha'Allah min as-sabirin. With God's resources, with God's help, I will be patient. On my own, I don't know what I will be like. Let me look at some of the questions, then I'll say, how is this relevant to Khushu? Sheikh, jawab su'al man nadadi. Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't see. What was your question? A lot of the time, it is overcomplicated and painful issues. Yes. I'm not saying every single fight is an easy fight. It's over simple things. Now, my point is this. There are obviously some really complicated fights. There are some really difficult arguments. That's not my point. My point was this, that the easy ones are teaching us something about ourselves. The easy ones, they need the solution to even deal with the complicated fights and arguments is in the simple ones. Why? Because when you're dealing with a complicated fight, you may think that, oh, I cannot handle this. There's no way to do this. Right? The reason I'm struggling so much is that this is a difficult one. But that's not true. Why? Because we realize that even an easy argument can create the same reaction in us. So like, hang on a second. What's happening? Sometimes even the smallest thing is getting me like this. And this is all to teach you something. That, baby, if God's support is not there, if you don't get that love from God, it doesn't matter whether it's a big or small. You're gonna make a mistake. You're gonna give up. You're gonna find it difficult. But if you go to God, if you get that love, if you get that energy, you will see that even the difficult one, you can handle it more. That's the beauty of it. Without God's love, even the easy fights will really defeat us. But with God's love, you will see there's nothing that can defeat you. Does that make sense? So you'll see that if you go to God and get that love and get that energy, even the hardest, most complicated situations, at least you can handle it. Initially, even if you can't find a way out, at least it wouldn't break you, wouldn't shatter you. This is the important point there. My spouse was arguing with me about turmeric and organic turmeric, which is better. Halfway through, I was like, are we really fighting about this? See, this is what I'm talking about. And these are actually good instances for us to see, baby, we can even fight over turmeric. But if we go get that love, get that energy, forget about turmeric. The most difficult things as well will not defeat us. I hope it's clear now that I wasn't undermining that every fight is about a simple thing. Okay, now what is the relevance between this and Ahsan? Thank you so much. This is about Prophet Musa. Very good. How can we stop ourselves not to get triggered when the other person says something hurtful? The answer is to go and get love from God. Allah will talk about it. Nabi Musa says to very good, thank you so much. So that's Satajiduni insha'Allah min as-sabirin. It was from Prophet Musa. So what is the relevance between this and Khushu? Even Khushu is this. Once you really, even those who said, how can I not be overcome with a small problem? How can I get that love? It all starts with that understanding. You remember I said Khushu is the fruit of a tree. Once you plant the tree, khushu will come as well. Although another fruit of this tree is that you wouldn't keep having fights, you wouldn't keep losing your temper. What is the tree? What do I need to do in order to have all of this? What we are doing right now. To really in your heart admit that, accept that. And the most important thing you need, the most important part of the solution is for our heart to finally accept this situation, right? That, oh my God, in order to be beautiful, in order to do good things, in order not to do bad things, in order not to hurt others, in order not to be scared, I need this connection to God. I need God's love to come inside me. I need God's resources. And if that doesn't come, I will be like a flower that's not getting water, that's not getting sun. And slowly, I will become fragile, insecure, and will become weaker and weaker and weaker. The stronger this feeling becomes in our heart, and we fully accept that every nice thing we ever did in our life was with God. It was with God's support that we did it. And every time we make the mistake, it was because we didn't get this love from God. The stronger this belief becomes inside you, the stronger will be your khushu towards God. Because you really feel that you need God. You know? You really feel that for every moment, for every beautiful act, you are depending on God's resources. So what is Hoshu? Hoshu is the feeling every flower in the world has towards the sun. Every plant that every plant that for its growth relies on the sun has Hoshu. Because it knows that if sun doesn't rise tomorrow, it will start, becoming weak and vulnerable. That is khushu, and it's very real. It's a very real feeling that every living being has towards the sun. Hala, a believer has this feeling towards God. It knows that without God's light and love, we will slowly become weaker and vulnerable, and all sorts of things will happen in us. Anger, fears, anxieties, weird desires, weird temptations, all of these things grow in our heart when God's love doesn't come. Once you fully see this about yourself, the attitude you have towards God is khushu. So this is what khushu, how we can then. When you go towards salah, let's link this to salah as well to make it a practical discussion as well. Once we realize this, that in order to handle any challenge, in order to have any beautiful quality, we need God's love, and any mistake is as a cause by lack of love, dige you know what to do. You know how to handle challenges. Let's say at night, and by the way, this has to be really felt, but now let's say you felt it. Now, for example, at night, you're going to be dealing with a very difficult situation. Maybe you have to have a discussion with someone that you're a little bit nervous about. Or there's something happening in a few days that you're scared of. Or you're dealing with a temptation that you find it a little bit overpowering. In all of these cases, now you know what the issue is. Before, you may not know, I'm feeling weak, what's the problem? I don't have courage, what's the problem? I'm having this temptation, what's the problem? Now you know. All of that is because we need more light. We need more love, right? Yani you realize all of this are the symptom, and the issue is I need more love. So you go to your salat, you go to your prayer, and you tell God, God, I'm dealing with this thing, and I really need more resources. I need more love. I need more connection. Fill me with that. And you will see that life will change the moment you do that. The moment you go to Salah to get resources from God, to get energy from God, to get love from God, your life will change. You will realize you don't need to live life on your own limited resources. No. You can live God. You can live life with the unlimited resources of God, with at your at access to having access to it, right? And it's very interesting, because the more you try with this, the more you experience this, the more you taste this, the more you realize that, oh my God, if I can tap into the resources of God, if I don't need to rely on my own strength, but I can rely on the strength of God, if I don't need to rely on my own love, I can rely on the strengths, on the love of God. And God's love and strength is unlimited. That means there is nothing in this world that can defeat me. I can handle anything in this world, because no matter how great it is still smaller than God's strength and love, right? So a few times of experiencing this, that you don't need to live life on your own, you can always reach back and gain from God's resources and love, then slowly you taste this and like, oh wow, if it happened now, if it happened this time, well, it can happen the next time too. If it happened with this problem, it can happen with that problem too. If it helped me with this issue, it can help me with that issue too. And then you will be unstoppable. Then you will realize who you are. Then you will realize that Insan is a reality. Insan is a being that nothing in this world can overcome. Nothing in this world is bigger than you. There is no problem in the world that can overwhelm us, if we know who we are and if we know what kind of relationship we can have with God, right? I think this is the practical step as well that we can learn from this. Exactly. دیگه we will never feel lost. You'll always know God is there. I have something to say, but maybe we can keep that for another day. Let's not keep it. Let's not be stingy. You said I will never feel lost again. Let me share something beautiful with you that can help you maybe. When you start living with God, when you start seeing God's help in a very real way, I needed strength, God gave me strength. I needed courage, God gave me courage. I needed love, God gave me love. With everything, I needed answers, God gave me answers. I needed guidance, God gave me guidance. When you see that, you realize, oh my God, I'm not on my own. God is there with me. Then you go in life and chances are you have this for a while, then you don't have it. You have days you're careful of this, days you're not careful of that. Some days you remember you can connect to God and get energy. Days you forget, you get distracted and you're like, oh my God, I haven't talked to God in a few days. Even I prayed, but I wasn't mindful. So another thing happens. You know this knowledge, you know that you can connect to God and it helps you. But one thing you realize is that you're not benefiting from this every day. Some days you totally forget God. Some days you totally forget to rely on God, connect to God, get that energy, right? So it's very interesting. So now the problem is not that we don't know the solution. The problem is that we forget the solution. The problem is that we end up forgetting about God. So a very interesting thing happens then. Before that, you were like, I can't handle my anger. Now you get to a place where you're like, I can't handle myself, in the sense that I can't make a decision now to keep remembering God every day. I can't get myself to do that, because I make that decision now that, okay, from now I'll talk to God, I'll get that love and energy from God, but a week from now I may forget. And it becomes so interesting because why don't I have that control over myself? Why can't I get myself to be this way from now on. And initially it may be so annoying and frustrating, like, why is this? Why can't I get me to do what me needs? And then something really beautiful happens. And you have to keep going through this for a while, right? Maybe, or maybe you don't. But if you go, you'll feel it. After a few times of going through this, you're like, God, I can't even follow the prescription. I know in order to be good, in order to be strong, in order to be loving, I need to remember you, but I can't even get myself to remember you. Like, I can't even do the prescription. So then you realize, if so far, Masana was saying, God, to handle fear, I rely on you. To handle disappointment, I rely on you. Now you're like, to be, I rely on you. You know? Before you said, God, help me with this challenge, help me with this issue, I leave this issue to you, I leave this problem to you. Now you say, God, I leave myself to you. Right? And before, we took a part of our life, we presented it to God, said, God, this issue, help me with it. God, this issue, give me love. God, now you take yourself and you give yourself to God and say, God, I can't even get myself to remember you. But at this point, I want to give myself to you. You help me remember you. You take care of me. You make sure I do this. You make sure I continue remembering you. You make sure I don't forget. And now, so many du'as of the Prophet and the Ahlul Bayt will make sense to you. Masalan, we have, I mentioned one. Ilahi la tatrukni ila nafsi tarfata aynin abada. God, don't leave me on my own even for a moment. You take care of me. Or another one. Allahumma la tuzigh qulubana ba'da idh hadaytana. God, now that my heart has found guidance, Dige, don't let me go back on this, because on my own I may even forget to come to you and talk to you. I felt this khushu inside, but if you don't help me, I may lose it. So keep me on this on this guidance. And it's kind of like, you know that without God's help, tomorrow something may happen and you may forget. You know, it's like, it's so interesting when you come to this realization very deeply inside, that I don't know what I will be like in a day. I don't know what I will be like tomorrow. Today I am trying to be remembering God and be loving, but 2 days from now, I don't know where I will be. I don't know if I care about this. I don't know if I remember this, or I don't know if I'm distracted with something else. Now I want God. Tomorrow I may want something else. I don't know what I will be like tomorrow. And it's an image that can really help us, and is, you know, that story of Prophet Musa and his mother, when Prophet Musa is very young and his mother is told to put Musa in a basket and put him in the River Nile. And you know, River Nile is really like a sea. It's massive. There are huge boats there. But Prophet Musa's mother is told to put Musa in a basket, a baby, just leave him in the ocean and leave him with God. Sometimes what we need to do is to put ourselves in a basket and throw ourselves in the ocean of life and ask God to take care of us, because we don't know where life will take us. We don't know what will be like tomorrow. But if in one moment we have that real connection with God, if for one moment at least we feel His presence and we remember Him, then on that moment we can put ourselves in a basket, leave it to God, say, God, from this point onwards, you be in charge. You take care of me. Tomorrow I may forget. The next day I may forget. But today I have asked you this. And God is the same God who took care of Musa. God will take care of us as well. Life may take us here and there, left and right, up and down. But if we make this promise and if this request sincerely, then God will make sure that, inshallah, the end of our journey is a good one. I hope that inshallah you're well. I hope tonight's session was beneficial. May God help us to um, remember Him more, remember His love, feel His love, know how beautiful He is, and know how beautiful we can also be when He is present in our heart. And if there are no questions, maybe we can do a few moments of dhikr and call it a night. Um, let's try to make our heart mindful and present. And if you want, you can close your eyes. God, you have told us, Huwa ma'akum aynama kuntum. You are with us wherever we are, in whatever state we are in. You're always there with us. You loved us before we were even born. You put our love in the hearts of people around us so they show us love. You created us out of love. You never gave up on us even when we gave up on ourselves. Please help us feel your presence. Help us feel your love. Help us rely on you. Help us learn to trust you. Help every beautiful soul, any corner of the world, who are going with a challenge and they feel like they cannot take it. Give them strength. Help them know that they can overcome that challenge. Give them strength. Give them love. I hope inshallah that we get another opportunity to continue with another session inshallah next week. There was just someone who said they've sent a question in the question box. Let me quickly have a look. It hasn't here in the question box. I don't have a question from you, Cook with Mowgli. Maybe we can talk about it another day inshallah. Inshallah next week same time we'll continue our discussion and the questions as well. Okay, we'll talk about the question inshallah next week. Please take care of yourself and remember you are so much loved by God. I take that back. Don't take care of yourself. Let God take care of you. Be in God's care and love. He's always there. You don't need to do anything. I just hope you feel it so you relax and calm down, because who are we kidding? He's taking care of all of us.